Well, I usually tell people the Cancer Companion started when I was lying on my blue couch reading a book. But honestly, God was up to something long before that. My dad had colon cancer, and the hard part was not taking care of my dad. The hard part was being told not to take care of my dad. If there's one word to describe my dad, it would be gentleman. Being a true gentleman is much more than opening a door or carrying packages. In one way or another, Dad carried all of us. Only problem was that Dad repelled the idea of us needing to sometimes carry him. A few years before his cancer, Dad had his first heart attack. My stepmom called and told me Dad didn't want me to fly home to see him. I yelled at her, "Of course I'm coming." And she yelled, "If he gets worse because you upset him by coming, I'll never speak to you again." So I didn't go. Same thing happened with his next heart attack, and by the time I was told he had colon cancer, the biopsy, the surgery, and the whole ordeal was over. This was easy for my dad to cover up because at the time, my stepmom was struggling with breast cancer. For her, my dad finally asked me to come home a few weeks before she died. It was painful to have my father telling me to stay away time after time. But now I can see that the Lord has used it. He gave me this hunger to be able to step into other people's struggles. So there I was, this counselor, stepping into other people's struggles while my father told me to stay away. I was overwhelmed by my own futility. But God wasn't done with me and cancer patients. God began to sneak cancer patients into my counseling office. That led me to write this book called God is Bigger Than Your Cancer, which eventually led me to facilitating Christian cancer support groups all over town. As I sat with these cancer patients in group night after night, God opened up my ears and my heart, and their stories began to cover me. At 47, Christy was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. Unfortunately, 1 year after completing chemo, Christy's cancer returned as stage 4. Then she faced surgery, radiation, and chemo all over again. Living alone and even working hadn't really been a problem the first time, but this time, by her 4th or 5th chemo, she was completely drained and dehydrated. As she laid on her couch, unable to get a glass of water, Christy realized she could not do this alone. Thankfully, her mom and her friends rallied to help her. After Roxanne's husband, Dennis, was diagnosed with prostate cancer, the doctor told them it had spread to his bones. Roxanne wanted to know why. Why did all of her friends' husbands with prostate cancer get rid of their cancer in just a few months, when Dennis' cancer would be with him for the rest of his life? In an effort to stop the spread of the cancer, Dennis began a clinical trial. When Lisa was diagnosed with breast cancer, she just wanted to get through it so she could get back to caring for her first grade students and the family she loved. After having a mastectomy and completing 7 months of chemotherapy and radiation, Lisa returned to her full life until 8 years later when her cancer returned as metastatic breast cancer. It had spread to her left hip and her pelvis. Lisa's cancer would be with her the rest of her life too. You've probably been in that place where someone you know is diagnosed with cancer and you just want to fix it. You want to make it all go away, but you can't. At first, that's how facilitating cancer support groups made me feel. Until I saw these cancer patients' depression and anxiety begin to lift. That's powerful stuff. Studies say that lifting a cancer patient's depression and anxiety can give them fuller and even longer lives. I don't know why I was surprised. After all, each meeting we focused on scripture and prayer. So you know Jesus was showing up big time.